What's up, contractors? We are back 2023. It's a good one. Good friend of mine. I don't know that there's a better way to start off the webinar year than my dear friend Jim Johnson with Contractor Coach Pro. Jim, thanks for jumping in with us today.
Could not be happier. I mean, from day one, before Company Cam was even a thing, like it was still like this app deal that Luke was working on with the roofing company. I'm like, hey, that thing's cool. Like everybody needs this thing. Let's do this thing. Like it's something that every contractor should have. So always been a big believer and just happy to be here, man. Let's help some folks out today.
Yeah, absolutely. So while we let those folks kind of trickle in here, two things. You mentioned Luke. I missed everyone in December. I wasn't on the webinar. We had the CEO on. He wanted to get his 60 minutes of fame in there in December. But I'm back and I'm excited to be back. And we've got great content today. And Jim and I have just been talking for the last 20 minutes about content and making quality content, because that's a big thing. Is there's a lot out there. There's a lot of noise in the space. And I'm very passionate that we continue to make great content. And so let's go ahead and acclimate ourselves with the Zoom software. If you're new, in the chat feature there, go ahead and let us know where you're joining us from. But also, if there's a specific piece of content you would like to see us create in 2023, let us know what that is. Hiring, compensation, onboarding, sales 101, whatever it is, let us know. But practice out the webinar chat there. Let us know where you're joining from. The other thing to draw your attention to, and that we'll go ahead and get started, is the Q&A feature down there in the Zoom settings. Q&A is if you have a specific question. Once we kind of kick this thing off, I'm going to keep the train on the tracks and I'm going to let Jim be the conductor. But if there is a question, you say, hey, what about this? I will read all of those. If I feel like it makes sense to interrupt Jim and say, Jim, here's a great question, I will do that. If I think it's a question that we can get to at a later slide or even at the end, just know I'm reading it. We'll get those answered for you. So webinar chat, I don't see any of you in here. Let's get in there. And then the Q&A feature, if you have questions. So with that, Jim, let's change some people's businesses in 60 minutes on a Wednesday afternoon, morning, wherever you're joining us from in time zone world.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited to share this because I think a lot of people see it a bit differently when you hear the word mission and what that means. Somebody from Red Deer, Alberta. Man, it's cold up there right now.
Yeah.
It's a little chilly. San Diego, awesome. Brent with Midwest Construction, Mason City, Iowa. I will be through Mason City, Iowa here pretty soon, headed to Wisconsin. That's where my wife's family is. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Good, guys.
Another Canadian?
Nova Scotia, Canada? Really? Wow. Guys, welcome aboard. This is awesome. Got people from everywhere. Florida to Canada. So the Florida guys, Florida's are like, hey, man, this is great. Weather's wonderful. Canada's like, I've got 5 more months of this. Omaha, Nebraska, hey, right down the street from you guys.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, everybody ready to get going? Like, should we get going?
Let's fire it up, Jim. Let's get rolling here.
So just a little bit of like set the scene. We're talking about this thing called a mission. And I think most people, when you hear the word mission, think kind of mission statement, right? Like, hey, we've got this thing that is our mission. We're going to go do it. It's kind of really broad, really big. And while I find those valuable, I think you should look at them as a mission statement, but not necessarily your mission. I'm going to get clearer about that here in a minute. But I got some really good advice when I was younger. I want to share some of that with you guys today and kind of this journey I've been on with this whole mission-focused coaching methodology that we use. And I want to share with you guys exactly how we do it so you could literally go do it on your own if you want to. And hopefully you'll come back to this piece of content quite often. Grab a pen, take notes, that kind of stuff, because I might get a little deep today, but be patient with me. I think it's going to be valuable for you. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Make sure I get the right one. Share, then we'll come right here and put on the slideshow. So, how to create an epic mission. This is really a multi-million-dollar success recipe. I'll explain to you why I say that. It is something that I have been doing for years, and it literally has changed like my life. And I hope that it changes the lives of the folks that are going to be on here today. That you see something might be a little bit different than what you've seen before. So, our goal today is first off, gain an understanding of what we're talking about when we say mission, because it's a little bit different for us than what you would hear most of the time. I want to show you some proof of what missions have accomplished. I just got some the other night that it's not even on this because I prepared this, but a company that we coached, their mission was to go from 0 to 5 million their first year, and then 5 million to 15 million their second year. And they accomplished both of those marks. Like, it can be done if you have the right tools and you have the right way of keeping accountable to it. So we're going to talk about the elements of a mission and really a strategy as well, then how to design one, and then what you got to do to execute it. So that's the goal today, is to kind of get through that piece of content and hopefully create some value for you guys today. So first things first, it isn't a statement. Mission statements, while cool and valuable and all that, most of them are way too long. Like, this is actually a really good mission statement right here. It's actually Google's mission statement. It's short, sweet, to the point. This is our mission. But it's their overall mission as a business in kind of the long run and this purpose that they serve. It's not necessarily a course of action. It guides their action, but it's not a course of action. And so I want you to think today of a mission being more like what you see on the screen there, maybe a bit of a military mission, like it's planned out, or, hey, we're going to climb Mount Everest. You're just going to show up at the bottom of Mount Everest one day and start climbing. You need to have a process to do that. And your chances of success become much better. We're going to talk about exactly how to put that together. Developing a mission leads to growth, and not just growth like from a revenue standpoint of things, but growth because of the ability to delegate things. Many of us as contractors and home service type folks, we end up wearing a lot of hats, and we start to bring some people into our equation. And it's hard to take the information we have and disseminate it to them. So we end up still owning everything without giving them empowerment and authority to own it. This tool allows for that. It allows for you to delegate things pretty easily and then manage them. You're also able to empower people. So you start empowering people, they can grow as leaders and your business can expand. And then the biggest thing is, if you get this thing in place, it's really working smoothly for you, it creates a lot of capacity. It's our goal with any of the contractors we work with that if it's part of their dream to just run their business, what they get down to is once a week on a meeting for about an hour and a half. And that's all they got to do. That's the freedom that they've been searching for whenever they start their business, instead of working in it every day, is this ability to work on it and hold people accountable to what needs to be done. So we're going to talk about how it applies to growth. And I want you to really hone in on this. It is the rally cry. When you develop a mission, and we're going to get to what that looks like, but it's the thing that everybody rallies around for the year. For example, here at Contractor Coach Pro, we got this report that we look at every single week in our mission, and it's got red and green. Red's good. I mean, red's bad, green's good. Hey, red stuff, no bueno. And so we're like, hey, what's our mission going to be this year? And sat and talked about it, worked together. It's Operation Evergreen. That's our goal. Make that thing green all the time. And so this is our rally cry. It's Operation Evergreen. We're after this all year long, totally focused on it. So it creates this purpose that is aligned with your overall mission as a company, that you can rally people around, right? And it's focused as a goal for the team. Like, the whole team is like, hey, we're all going to climb Mount Everest together. So it's your rally cry. We'll get to exactly how to put that in place so that you can keep it all the time. Michael, if there's chats or questions, you're gonna stop me, right?
100%.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Once you kind of dive in deep, I'll probably even stop you with my own chats and questions too.
So I want to give a little backstory here, this mission journey, and why this thing has been such a point of focus for me over my lifetime. As a kid, I didn't have the greatest growing up situation. A neighbor across the street noticed that I had some potential. He comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, I know you want that motorcycle I've got. Would you like to mow my yard and do it for the summer? You'll get the motorcycle." And what he was doing is he was looking at me as somebody that could possibly be a business person. And he was putting me through this, like, do these things consistently and you get this. So I did the work, did it well. And he said, "Hey, it looks like you have some potential." And I ended up building a pretty sizable landscaping business as a 14, 15-year-old kid, to the point that I actually sold it whenever I was a senior moving into college, that, hey, I had something that was valuable and I was able to sell it. All of that was based on this concept of a mission. I got something I got to do in this period of time, break it down and execute. And so he taught me the basic concept, right? Like, hey, this is the concept of what a mission looks like. As time went on, I came across more and more opportunity to learn about how to develop a mission. There's parts of this that you will see if you've ever read the book Traction before. You'll go, I see that. Like, I recognize that thing. But there's also other parts of it where you'll go, where did that come from? And it came from really me having the opportunity through a variety of different experiences that I've had over time to go and be a part of an event that was really private. Like, hey, we're going to take you behind the veil and show you how we build our businesses type of event. And so there's bits and pieces from all that on how to execute one of these missions. It is the thing that over the years has allowed me to do some pretty cool things. I took a health club company from 20 million to 180 million over about a 5-year time span. I was their vice president of sales, which is the craziest thing in the world, as a 19-year-old kid. College didn't work out for me. Wasn't my thing. Liked health and fitness. Went into health and fitness, and I was actually really good at selling. I was also really good at teaching people how to sell. And I also understood this concept of a mission. I got this thing to accomplish. I'm going to break it down. We're going to do it. And each year I would develop one and we would go after it. And each year we would grow. And then as a contractor, I got into this industry because I moved. I moved from Houston to Wisconsin. I feel like I can make money anywhere. And I got into this industry, went to work for somebody selling. And so I created my own little mission, like me as an individual. And that's a big takeaway from this is I don't care what it is that you or role that you play. This can work both personal and in business, and it can work for any role. Like, I have this job that I'm doing for a company. I'm going to build out a mission for that. Or I'm a company and I'm going to build out a mission. Or something personal I want in my life, I'm going to build out a mission. So this mission applies to all things. I'm going to put it very much in business sense today, but I want you to really take away from it like, hey, if I want to accomplish something in life, this is what that might look like. So this contractor went to work for him. I sold $1 million of the 3.6 million. And they're like, hey, can you teach everybody else how to do this? And I said, yeah, put it together. And we were able to do 41 million the next year, only because I was able to put this mission thing into play. 0 to 20 million as a contractor in 2 years for me personally. 0 to 5 million in the software world. If you guys aren't familiar with AccuLinks, like, that's some of my background, is helping to bring that off the ground. And then here as a coach, from 0 to $4.3 billion in business that our contractors are doing on an annual basis right now, using this type of tool to grow their businesses. And then really the main mission for me, thousands of lives changed because I implement this type of tool that I'm going to share with you guys, or this thought process. So hopefully I've got your attention now. Those are some fair numbers that I would think. Like, I was sitting here going, hey, I got to get some proof of this. And I started writing them down like, holy cow, man, we've done some pretty cool things over the years. I haven't really thought about it like that until I put this together for you guys. So, and you're the very first ones to see this. This is not out there anywhere. I haven't shared it with anybody else. Company Cam first up. So 5 elements. When we're going to talk about 2 pieces, we're going to talk about a strategy and we're going to talk about a mission. Okay. So first off, in order to build a great mission, we better have a pretty strong strategy for our business. So I'm going to talk about those things, but I'm going to stay pretty high level there. I'm going to dig really into the mission part of it. But in order to build an effective mission, you have to have this lens that you're looking through as saying, these are the things coming in the future. If I don't know those things in the future, a mission, while still valuable, may not play into what you're trying to get to overall. So let's talk about those 5 elements: core philosophy, BHAG, vision, sit rep, and annual plan. So first thing, core philosophy. Think of this as really the thing that creates your culture. Like, who are you? What are you about? So you've got some goals, and they're tend to be usually financial for a lot of folks, but there's been some new thinking out there that there could be something more important than money. And so as a owner of a business, so I'm talking to you guys that are owners, be thinking about what the dream is. Like, you started this business, and it may have been something that you started to just financially make some money. Opportunity existed, whatever it was, like, hey, I don't like working for that person, so I'm going to do my own thing. Whatever the reason, you started it, but what was the goal of it? Was it to work in it every day and become an employee of that business? Or was it to have this machine that you work on that creates opportunity and wealth for you? I don't think a lot of people think about that when they first start a company. My advice to anybody and everybody is to think about that before you start a business. Why am I starting this in the first place? And if I do, where do I see it finishing? How does it fulfill my ultimate goals? Because everything from there, you can build backwards. I got this big thing I'm going to chase. I can start to build it backwards from there, and making the thing I'm going to be doing today achievable, making it not so big anymore. All right. So there's some goals. It creates this culture of who you are, what you're about, the way you behave. There's a vibe or feel to your company. It gives clarity to the people that are coming into your business that these are the expectations of who we are and what we're about. Creates alignment with those folks, which is magnetic. And if you've ever played with magnets before, when you stick them together, right, they join right up, right? But if you put the 2 poles together that are the wrong ones, they repel each other. That's what you're trying to create. You want this magnetic culture that people are attracted to, and they just slap together and let's go. Or it absolutely repels them. They don't want to be a part of it, because that's how you get the right team put together. I've watched this with Company Camp. Their culture is off the charts. One of the best that I've seen out there. Atlas is also one of those ones. Like, I really see those companies that create culture. And what I notice from them is loyalty. Their folks stay. They want to be a part of it. They see this thing that they're building. So what puts that together? Well, ultimately, the dream of the owner drives everything. Like, that dream is, hey, we're going to get here. So he's driving the bus or she's driving the bus. And then there's a vision, and then purpose, core values, and that mission statement. Like, what are we after in the big scheme of things? So let's break it down a little bit further. So that's your core philosophy. Think of that as my culture, right? Now I'm like, okay, I got culture kind of figured out. I know what our values are, how people will behave, what we're chasing, and why we're chasing it. Now I have this thing called a BHAG. If you've never heard of it before, it's actually fairly common nowadays. It's a big, hairy, audacious goal. The biggest, hairiest, audacious goal I can think of off the top of my head is going to the moon. Like, they were going to put a man on the moon. Kennedy came into the presidency, like, we're going to put a man on the moon. Everybody looked at him like he was crazy, right? Big, hairy, audacious goal, but they were able to achieve it. And whenever you are looking at your business, if you don't create something that challenges you, you are likely to become complacent. So for me to get after what I do every day, we've got some pretty big, hairy, audacious goals. For example, I will share with you what our strategic intent is. Our strategic intent is to provide the highest quality professional education for contractors, because there isn't a school for this, to flip the 70 to 80% of contractors going out of business within 3 years to 10 to 20% of contractors going out of business. We want to flip that dynamic. That's what we're working on. That's what our big, hairy, audacious goal is, to do that. We feel like if that's our strategic intent, everything else becomes easy from there. That, hey, we have these objectives. We've got to put together quality content. We have to have the best of the best coaches. So we have these primary objectives that we're achieving to make that strategic intent happen, which makes our dream and vision happen. So I'm looking through this lens all the way back to that foundational core philosophy aspect of things. And then I've got some strategies. So there's these strategies I'm going to use. Like, I'm going to create a culture that's killer. It is going to be a place that people want to work, and only people that go, that's high level. I can't even ask to work there unless I'm high level. And so I've never put an ad out for a coach ever, not once. These folks have come to us and said, I want to be a part of this. That was part of my strategy. Build a culture they want to be a part of that's elite. So you would think about the strategies you want to do to achieve that BHAG. If there's any questions there, that's pretty high. And it's a difficult thing to kind of wrap your head around, strategic intent. Hopefully I gave you a pretty good example of it. As a contractor, if I'm sitting there as a contractor, it can't be something like, we want to create the best quality and service. I mean, you hear every contractor under the sun say that. You're just another one of the folks out there. It's not different. It's not unique. It's not a driving force. But if you were to say something along the lines of affording homeowners an opportunity to purchase their home makeover online, that's a pretty big strategic intent. That's a whole different world you're innovating and creating. And then everything is looked at through that lens. Everything you're now doing is like, hey, that's our thing. We're going to build from there. Hopefully that sinks in a little bit.
Question for you on that, Jim.
Yeah, go ahead.
You might be getting to it. It looks like I think you might actually get to it on this one, but you had the word finish line up there. And I'm thinking to myself, like, with your guys' strategic intent of flipping that high percentage of contracting businesses going under in their first 3 years and trying to almost just completely flip that dynamic, how important is it? I'm even thinking of like a track analogy of, you're running the 2 mile. We know that that's 8 laps around the track. And yeah, I do have my end goal and that end finish line. Like, I want to be crossing it in X time. How important is the split times, if that makes sense, for this, where it's like,
it's literally the whole point of the mission. The mission are your laps. I got these laps I'm doing. If you see on here, it says 5 to 10 years is usually where we put a BHAG out there. It's way out there. A lot of folks, BHAGs are something focused around being able to afford them the opportunity to sell their business, right, in this amount of time. But to get there, I've got these laps I've got to run. That's a great analogy, by the way. I got these laps I've got to run. And that lap I'm running each year is the actual mission. This year I'm doing this. Next year I'm doing that. Next year I'm doing this, all focused on this thing. And this thing is the 50,000 foot view. It gives me the North Star. Like, I have this North Star I'm aiming for. And so these laps that I'm running, it is an amazing analogy. I'm going to steal this from you, Mike.
It's all yours.
If you're going to run a 2 mile, you're not sprinting the first lap. You are going to run out of gas, and you have this pace that you need to be at. And if you're well coached in track, they talk about pace and your stride length and all that other good stuff. And you're shooting for this target at the end of each one of those laps, knowing that this pace is going to take you to the ultimate goal, which is to win the race, right? Great call out. And that's exactly what we're building towards, is how do I do this mission? So whenever I first started doing this stuff, all I knew about was like the goal and break it down and do the thing, right? Over time, I've added these other pieces that have helped those missions become much more executable and very focused. Like our lack of focus is the death. And I mean the absolute death of our potential. If we're distracted and we're not able to achieve things, and without something going, hey, this is my North Star, we lack focus and we're like a rudderless ship. We're not running on the track. We're running through the infield and out in the stands and all over the place, right? So we need this thing that keeps us on that lane that we need to be in. And it's the ultimate. It is like, this is the thing I'm headed for. It's a 50,000 foot view. It doesn't have to be a bunch of detail. It's just simply that simple. It's, hey, what's the strategic intent? What are 2 or 3, 4 at most primary objectives we have to do to make that intent happen? And then of those objectives, what strategies do I need to apply to make those happen? It can be a little difficult to wrap your head around this one piece. We do a lot of coaching around this thing, but once we get this, it's still just building it backwards. So now I've got to run the first mile. Okay. So we're going 4 laps to run a mile. So strategic vision. This is not all the way out to the BHAG. And it's also not what I'm doing right now. It's in between, usually somewhere around 3 years is what you're looking at. Used to be longer, but with technology moving, economies moving, and just the speed of everything, planning out anything further than about 3 years is pretty difficult to do. There's lots of changes out there. The strategic vision is midterm progress. Like I'm progressing along this route that I'm going towards my dream and my BHAG. This is keeping me on that track and in my lane. So it's aligned and keeps me in alignment with the BHAG and dream, gives me clarity in depth beyond the BHAG, like the BHAG's 50,000 foot view. Think of this as like the 30,000 foot view. I'm breaking it down a little bit, going, okay, in the next 3 years, I got to do this to achieve that. All right. So it gives clarity to everybody else. Like, hey, on the way to that finish line, this is where we need to be in our split time to actually get to the finish line on time. Man, I am stealing it. My guys are great. That's a really good. I wish I'd have thought of it myself. It applies metrics. It's really the first place that you are likely to start to put some metrics: revenue, profit, units that you've sold, clients served, those type of things. The services you provide, like for example, if you're out there and you're a contractor and you do fencing, okay, could we do something else? And maybe we want to do gutters too, or patios, or whatever else there is. Those would be our services as a contractor. Then our processes, what processes do we need to execute those services? And then finally, other niches. So if I'm a contractor and I do, home exteriors, what other niche could I get into that's very similar, just applying the same processes, the same concepts to it? So maybe you start remodeling. Okay. It could be something like that. I get into another niche. We've actually had guys go like, I'm doing this as a contractor. That's a process. I want to go do that same thing over here in house flipping, real estate purchasing, car washes. Like they go, hey, I can go into another niche with this type of thing because now I have this system down. So that's what we're looking at in strategic vision. 3 years from now, what's our target? What services do we provide? What processes will we have? And what are the other niches we could possibly serve if we do that? It allows for measurement. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for this measurement. Hey, all right, I'm here now. I got that I got to get to. So here I got to do this and then this and then this. And then we'll start running those laps. But before any of that, you insert this thing right now. Like I have that big thing. I have my vision. Before I'm going to do what I need to do for the year, I need to understand my situation. Exactly what's going on in my business currently, like today's time. So what's my market like? Is it growing, declining? Is it affluent, not affluent? Is there a lot of competition, little competition? You're looking at what are the demographics? What is the potential? You're looking at all that market stuff. Then you're looking at the actual competition themselves in that market. Like, is there room to get ahead of them, get market share from them? Is it going to be really tough and difficult because they own a lot of it and they're really good at it? You have to look at all those things to understand what your situation is. And then you have this self-assessment thing that you do on your own business. So you're going to self-assess your people, your products and services, and your financial position. People, good or needs improvement. That's what the NI stands for. So ownership would be the first people I would be looking at. What's good about the ownership? What do we do well? What are our strengths? What is all that? Okay, what needs improvement? And maybe we need to be better leaders. Maybe we need to be more focused on culture. Maybe we need to afford more opportunity to be empowered and grow. So we would be looking at what needs improvement from a ownership perspective. Maybe we need an influx of cash, like we need to bring another owner in order for us to get to these things that we need to get to. But now, because I have this vision and because I have that BHAG and ultimately that dream, it gets really focused on that self-assessment of applying the assessment to those things. Hopefully that makes some sense to you. I'm looking at my products and services the same way. So whatever products I offer, what's good about them, what gives me an edge with them, what's great about them, what needs improvement? Am I getting beat because of the products that we have? And then last but not least, financial position. Are we healthy? Do I actually know how much money is my money and how much isn't? Do we have the money to invest in more marketing, to invest in more training, to invest in coaching, like whatever that thing is, in order for us to take that next step and break through some barriers and grow as a business? And then we're looking at historically and mostly over the last year. What are the lessons we learned? I'll give you a great one. Jim Johnson tends to be the guy with all the ideas. That's me. Like I got a million ideas and I think they're all amazing. And I tend to be a force of nature that will bring those in and put them into place in the business. The lesson I learned from that is because of the breadth, the broadness of the things that we offer, it's hard to get really good at an individual one. So I go, okay, I don't want to not do what we're doing. Now I've got to empower some people to lead each one of those things that we do, because Jim can only be spread so far. So I learned some lessons before I put something new out there. Do we have the capacity to actually handle it? So that was something that we actually wrote down in our critical issues this year. It's like, Jim, stop coming up with ideas. They're all wonderful, but we can only do so much stuff. We need to learn from that and understand our situation and how that affects our business before we can actually develop a strong plan. And then last but not least, critical issues facing your business. Given X, how do I do Y? Given the fact that there's not a lot of people wanting to work and they're lazy and all that other good stuff that we all say, how do I find quality people to come work for me? My first suggestion on that particular one, go look in the mirror first, because there's other people with lots of people working for them that love working for them. So it's not like people are lazy. They may just not want to work for you. So we'll understand what the issue is and some of those ways that you can actually solve it. Hopefully that gets you your situation. Now that I understand what my situation is, where I'm headed, dream, BHAG, and vision, I can actually develop an annual plan, this year's mission. And so the way that works is we've got some annual objectives that we're going for. I think 2 to 3 is usually what we will tell a client. Just pick 2 or 3 big things it's going to take you all year long to do in order for you to achieve your vision in 3 years. That's going to achieve the BHAG in 5 to 10 years. That's ultimately going to fulfill your dream of getting to where you want to be. So these objectives are aligned with what we're doing. So let's kind of build one out and kind of talk about what that looks like. So there's also 5 main elements of an epic mission. There's the goal. Like, hey, we're going to climb Mount Everest. That's the goal. I know what that is. And I've got a name for it. It's Operation Climb Mount Everest. You can put this into like military terms. You can think of Desert Storm. Their goal was to solve the issue as quickly as possible. We got an issue over there. We need to solve it as quickly as possible. This is called Operation Desert Storm because their strategy was the shock and awe thing, right? Like we all knew that. We were all very aware of it. There was like a rally cry for all of us. The entire country was aware of what's going on over there. The other missions that we've had militarily, like, do we know the name and what they were really about and that kind of stuff? We might know the name, but was it really a rally cry? And was it something we really wanted to get behind? We've had our successes and failures, right? So these are the 5 main components: a goal, a name, objectives, targets, and standards. So let's walk through them a little bit. mission goal. It's the expected result. Whenever I get done with this year, this result that we're going to get is aligned with that vision and BHAG and dream. It usually has something to do with financial, but not only financial. And we'll build that out a little bit here. It has to do with reputation. So what people think about you. And just so everybody knows, I'll give you a little equation here. Hopefully you got that pen that I told you about. Write this down. It's one of the best pieces of advice I ever got. Your reputation is truly what your brand is. Okay. It is not your logo and the cool trucks you drive and all that other good stuff and all the paraphernalia. Your brand is your reputation. It's what people believe and perceive about you and your business. Well, in order for that reputation to benefit you, you have to realize what builds it. And so there's two components. You have results, the work you do. Is it good, bad, or indifferent? And you have reach, how many people know, right? So it's an equation. Results times reach equals reputation or brand. So in my mission, I'm thinking about how do I expand my reach and how do I improve my results to build my brand, okay? There's an effect of the mission. Like if we do this, this is the effect it will have to the people that work for us. And then there's also an impact. There's an impact that happens. And so I've written one out as kind of like, hey, this is what a goal might look like. To implement the processes, tools, and resources to achieve $20 million in revenue with 10% net profit with a customer experience that increases reviews by 50%. By creating a client-first culture that fosters our culture. So client-first culture that fosters our internal culture in order, which affords us the opportunity to give 2% of our revenue to circular economy charities. Pretty specific. Like at the end of the year, that's what I want to get done. That's the ultimate goal of this mission that we're going to do this year. That's just a sample. We do, everybody's is different. Everybody has a different thing that they're after. But that's what a goal would look like. It's not necessarily all dollars. There's finance, there's reputation, there's effect and impact. And we got to name it something, hopefully something cool that you can get out and in front of all the time. So your rally cry is top of mind. We heard Desert Storm all the time, shock and awe all the time. Like we knew what that thing was. You see sports teams doing very similar things. Like they want to win the Super Bowl or the World Series or whatever it is. Houston has one every year that they're putting out. It's Operation This. Astros. Send this to work. They just won. So that's kind of cool. Also my team. So I'm going to shout them out a little bit. And no matter what you may think about them. But there's this operation aspect to it, and we give it some kind of cool name. I've had all kinds. Operation Everest was one of the very first ones because you could put the little milestones on the mountain. It was on a big wall. We had a whole wall laid out with it, with all the little different waypoints as we were climbing the wall with numbers and accomplishing things. And it was fun for everybody to see the movement of that. Okay. It was our rally cry. We had a rally cry one year of make it easy. That was our operation. Make everything we do easy. Everything was about streamlining and being very efficient in what we did. It was cool to see those things get done. And everybody on the entire team knew what we were about that year. It wasn't like the owner sitting over there with all these bright ideas that nobody knows about. And it's not just all financial, right? Like, hey, we set this big goal of $10 million. Well, okay, why? And why would I rally around that? Because it kind of benefits you, not me, right? So we need this mission to be something that brings everybody into the fold. And then we have mission objectives. So I've got this mission. I have these objectives that need to be done in a year. So they're big, okay? It takes a whole year to get them done, but it gives clarity to this mission goal. I have this goal that we want to do 10 million and we want to do this and this and this. Exactly how, right? So we have these objectives that are going to allow us. And think of it like you're an archer. You've got this bullseye you're aiming for, but you have several arrows that you're shooting to hit that bullseye. Those are those objectives. I've got this arrow and that arrow and that arrow that are all going to achieve that ultimate goal of our mission. So it defines it. it focuses the team, and don't take on any more than 2 or 3 major objectives. Have success with that first before you start adding a whole bunch of stuff. Your tendency will be, I want to accomplish everything under the sun in year one. With all of that comes great sacrifice. You want to work 100 hours a week? Great. Go do it. But most people don't want to do that. And so I got to run my lap, and I got to run it at the right pace, and I got to shoot the right arrows to make that mission actually happen. And so it would look something like this. I got Mission 2023. It's got a cool name to it. Annual objectives. I've got my goal written in. So here's my major objectives, 2 or 3 things that I know need to get done to hit this $20 million. So might need a great training program. Might need to have a new recruiting and hiring initiative to achieve the numbers of people that we need. You saw reviews on there. Hey, we got to do something different in our reviews. So there's my big objectives. Those are the big 3 things I got to do in order to hit these numbers. These targets are the measurements that define your objective and the success or failure of that particular mission. So we start breaking it down. See how you're starting to break down? Like when you say 20 million, it's like, that can be a very big number to people. But when you start to break it down, and if I know what my average sale is, and I know what my profit margin is I'm aiming for, and from leads, how many appointments I actually get, and then I know my closing percentage, and I know that I can get my sales guys to do $1 million each on average, starts to tell me a few things. And really what it comes down to is I'm going to need 20 salespeople, and we got to sell 3.42 projects a day. I got 20 sales guys. It's very achievable. That starts to sound a little bit more realistic, right? Now we better have all this stuff in place to serve those people well, like processes, systems, and all that good stuff. And if I don't, that's the first thing I have to do as one of my objectives if I'm going to hit that number. So it starts to define out what we have to do with those objectives. And then those targets that I'm going to reach for at the end of the year create standards or key performance indicators that I want to start to hit weekly. But I need to have the year number put together first. And you saw in that spreadsheet that some of those numbers were put together. We would create any other ones that are outside of that little group and say, hey, these are the big numbers for the year that I need. Creates those measurements, also creates a scoreboard. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like playing any sport that doesn't involve a scoreboard. It's just like, I want to see the score, and I want to see it all the time. I want to know where I'm at, and am I ahead or behind? I think most people hunger for that. Am I scoring well or am I not? It creates belief. You start to go, oh man, like you looking at those numbers right there, you're like 3,200 leads, man, that's not possible. But when you start to do the math on it and you break it down, it's like, oh, that's only that many leads a day. Yeah, I think we can actually do that. So it creates some belief. It's a push. So it's always a little bit of a push. It's not ridiculous, like unbelievable, but it's a push, and challenge causes people to rise to the occasion. Whenever you put things, Mike, you tell me, man, I'm sure Company Cam has had some pushes, some challenges, and everybody has to step up to the plate because you guys are growing. You got new things that are coming into play. And you and I were talking before the webinar today. Like, you have some things that are going to push and challenge you from a content creation aspect of things. All that's going to do is make you better, and you play a part, right? Like you feel the ownership part of that in the overall thing that Company Cam's doing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like, as I'm taking in these slides, that's the big thing for me is, that 30, we'll just use, since we're on the slide, that 3,200 leads or the 20 million. I think it's easy for people to have one or two viewpoints on that. One of two. One is like, oh, yeah, we can easily get that. Or, oh, no way we're going to get there. But if you don't break it down, neither of those viewpoints is actually accurate. If that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, we've got to break this down and say, hey, we're going to get to 20 million, but what does that look like as far as number of leads that we need every month? What does that look like for every number of leads for every week? Number of leads per day, number of appointments set per rep. Like you break it down, it's like, oh, that I don't remember what the 3.42 number
Yeah,
was,
that's
but
not all that hard.
yeah, like I
mean,
can
hey,
I can do that, and it's like
yeah, you
I
don't get so out of whack with your, what that is 20 salespeople selling 3.42 jobs a week, or 1 out of 7 making a sale each day. Well, that starts to sound real easy. I'm like, oh man, we can certainly do $20 million.
Mhm.
And that belief starts to happen in this rally cry that I've got for this goal that we're going to achieve for the year. And everybody's got some belief in it. So, how do we actually execute this thing? Like we sit down, we get together, and this is usually how it works for us and how I coach and teach people to do it. Get out of your office. Rule number 1, do not be in your office trying to put this thing together because you will get distracted. You will have millions of people trying to get your attention all the time. Get offsite, spend a couple of days with your leadership team. If you don't have a leadership team, I don't care. Go do it by yourself. When I started Contractor Coach Pro, I went, sat down, built a mission completely by myself. No distractions, no phones, no TVs, no music, none of that stuff. Just really putting some thought into like, what is this thing going to be? Now, early on, my mission was one thing. I wanted to serve about 4 contractors, coach them, and go golf and fish in the afternoon. Sure enough, people liked what we were doing and wanted more of it and wanted to get it from us. And so it actually became a business. Then I had to go back to the drawing board, say, okay, new mission for year 2, new mission for year 3. When you got to year 3, it's like, I need to go back because I was never intending for this to be a business. It wasn't that. That wasn't the purpose. Then I realized it is a business. First thing I did, boom, go all the way back to strategy, start building that out so I could plan the year with this ultimate purpose to get there. So in executing our mission, we got to take that big year thing and now start to break it down. And so you can see a few things. There's some quarterly things that we're shooting for. There's some weekly things. We're going to walk through each one of these, break it down for you so that you can start to track it on your own to actually achieve this big thing that you're after. But the key to executing the mission is accountability. So how do we make things accountable? First thing is we got to identify what we call tactical operating priorities. They are the 2 to 3 big things that I got to do this quarter to achieve that objective that I had for the whole year. Remember, we had 2 or 3 of those. Well, quarterly, what do I got to do to make that thing happen? I got to start here, then there, each time focused on getting that major objective done for the year. What becomes different about it is you see this thing that says owner. Somebody just became responsible. Somebody owns that thing and they're going to be responsible for this quarterly operating priority that has to happen. And at the end of that quarter, they're either going to be able to say yes or no that something got done. We meet weekly about this. And every week when we come in, we're like, all right, top 1 was this. Is it on track, off track? On track. Great. Boom, move on. We don't talk about it anymore. We trust the person that's working for us that owns that saying, yes, it's on track or off track. The second they say it's off track, we're like, what challenges are you having? We'll talk about how to handle challenges here in just a minute. So that's how we stay accountable to this big thing we're trying to accomplish. You can see some departmental tops. So there's company tops, like these 2 or 3 big things, but inside of some of our companies, we have departments and stuff like that. They also have their own tops. These are quarterly milestones. Think of my waypoints along the way to climb Mount Everest. Then most of you hopefully have heard of the word SMART goals before. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. Any goal that you set should meet those 5 requirements. Except I don't like the word goal. Yeah, it is a goal, but really what it is, it's an action. I've got to take these specific actions to make that quarterly priority happen. So if we take one step back, I got 2 or 3 tactical operating priorities. I got 2 or 3 sections for smarts. What are the 5 to 8 big things I got to do to make that quarterly thing happen? Like, hey, this quarter, I'm going to build a training program for our production team. Okay, that's a big top, but define it. I got to build an outline. I got to find a platform. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. It's not everything you have to do, but it's the big things along the way that you go, okay, who owns that thing? because whoever owns the top may not own all of the smarts. We have resources and other people that have talent. Let's use those to our advantage and delegate. So maybe it's a variety of owners on that particular top that each has a smart action to perform throughout that quarter with a due date on it. Due date is not the end of the quarter. Due date is when it should be done by. Like, hey, you got this piece to do, and I need you to do your piece so I can do my piece. When can you have yours done? Building it out together. And then the status of it. Is it on track, off track, or needs help? This type of thing keeps us, when we meet, and any of our contractors we work with, focused on what it is they're doing right now. They don't get distracted by shiny objects. They're not out there going, oh, that dude, I need more leads. Well, was that really what your tactical operating priority was for this quarter? If it isn't, don't do it. And it keeps us very focused. All right. And then meet weekly. This is where you say, hey, we're after this big, huge thing, the dream and the BHAG and the vision and our mission for the year. Let's sit down and make sure that we're on track. Let's sit down and solve problems. Let's keep it in front of us every single week so we stay focused on it. This is the biggest mistake most people make. They go and have the 2-day thing, or they meet with their leadership team. They got this big, huge whiteboard up on the wall. They got all kinds of amazing stuff written up there. And these are the things we're going to do. We're going to do 20 million. We're going to do this. 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 Some bright guy goes, I'm going to use company cam. I'm going to take a picture of that. Right? Got a picture of it. Last they ever look at it. And they don't achieve any of that grandness that they all planned for and were so excited about. And they're not even talking about it a week later. It's like a New Year's resolution, which I despise, versus a mission we must accomplish. It's a big difference. And so your meeting should have an agenda. You will notice that this agenda follows, if you've ever read Traction or any of that kind of stuff, there's a level 10 meeting. We call it a mission meeting. It's built around what contractors do, but follows the same format because it's a great meeting. If you haven't read the book, go read the book, follow level 10 meeting. You will move further and faster really quick. But it creates leadership, accountability, and growth. I've delegated a bunch of things out. Those folks are growing through that, and I'm sitting there helping guide them to the ultimate goal. We're going to finish that 2-mile race on time. So meeting starts at a very specific time, 9 a.m. You show up at 9 a.m. and 1 second, the door is locked. You can't get in. Be adamant about that start time. And then everything from there is very specific. 5 minutes for weekly wins. Just start it off with positive. Hey, what happened good? What happened good? What happened good? Then you have a reporting phase. So you're going to report on your players. So think player spotlight. Somebody had a good week. Let's talk about it. Let's recognize them for it. Tops. Are they on track, off track? And scoreboard. Is the scoreboard being met or not? And we're going to look at our tasks from the previous week and say, done, not done. So a little review. Then we're going to look at the challenges. What's getting in our way and keeping us from taking that next step forward on our mission? And then we have a post game, like challenges got done being talked about. And each one you can see them timed. This is the format for it. 5 minutes for weekly wins, 5 minutes a piece for players, tops, and scoreboard. 10 minutes for task review, 55 minutes for challenges. At 55 minutes and 1 second, you stop talking about them. No more discussion. You've already discussed more than you could ever accomplish in a week anyway. Don't waste everybody's time. You're hopefully talking about the things with the highest priority. Get done. Recap any new tasks. Yep, everybody knows what they're doing. Any messages we got to get out to everybody else, because remember, this is just the leadership team. And then you're going to rate the meeting on a scale of 1 to 10. We break it down into 5 pieces. And let's just kind of walk through a little bit here. Okay. So here's I'm going to do weekly wins, player spotlight, the progress of my tactical operating priorities, and my scoreboard. So here's my scoreboard. It's super easy. Like we're trending in the right direction. And as an owner of a business, this is literally the dashboard of my vehicle. I have this vehicle that's my business. I'm able to look at this dashboard and say, all things go, or do we have a problem? Well, it looks like I got a check engine light there. Oh, we didn't build as much as we have set the standard for, because you can see our standards over here. We took the yearly, broke them down and said, okay, weekly, what do we got to do? And those are a lot more achievable. Hey, I only got to get 4 reviews this week to get to this whole annual standard of 200. That's not too hard. We can certainly do that. And I've got to build I've got 92 that have been generated as leads. Our standard is 15 a week. We're beating that. We're killing it. Way to go. No discussion about it or anything like that. We all know what green and red means. This is where we're at. As an owner, I'm able to look at those things and go, I got some problems to solve. Which one's the bigger problem? Down at the bottom, look at that closing percentage. 16%. What the hell happened? We got to go solve that problem. So that would probably be on my challenges. Like, hey, our closing percentage is really stinking. Let's figure that out. So think of it as a dashboard. I glance at it. Everything's good. Keep focused on the windshield because I got to drive down this road. And I got to keep it on the rails. I got to stay at the speed limit. I got to do what I got to do to stay on my journey towards accomplishing that mission. Then I've got my tasks. I'm going to review those. Here's our task. Here's who owns them, the due date of them, and the status of them. In progress, completed. Once things are complete, they go away. We don't even look at them anymore. The way our tool is set up is once something is completed, you have this little filter right here, literally like puts it invisible. You can't see it anymore. We go back at the end of the year and we always look at the completeds, and it is miles long. It's page after page after page of all these tasks we got done. It's super rewarding to go and look back and go, wow, look at everything that we accomplished this year. So you review this piece in reporting phase of your meeting. You identify performance like of your leadership team. Hey, are we on time, not on time? So Jim Johnson's got this thing to do by the 31st. It's not the 31st yet. He's okay. We look at this one. Hey, 31st. Jenny's got this thing to get, man, we're running tight. It's the 25th right now. It doesn't even say in progress yet. What's going on? Let me check on that. And as a leader, I'm seeing who's getting things done and who's not. Who's taking the bull by the horns and who's not. Who's really a leader in my business? Who's really doing what needs to get done? So then you have challenges. And challenges are, you'll hear the word issues used a lot. I don't like issues. Issues are negative. Challenges are positive to me. Like, hey, man, I can overcome them. These are the obstacles that I've got to overcome. Regardless of the situation, we're just going to make them happen. So what these challenges do is it creates teamwork. I have a challenge. I think I have some answers to it. So I write some solutions to it, possibly over here on the right-hand side. But I want to get everybody else's input. I want to, 2 heads are better than 1 and 4 is better than 2. So my leadership team all wrapped around me, and we're going to do this today. As a matter of fact, here at Contractor Coach Pro, we're going to have a meeting with my leadership team. We've got some things we've got to solve as far as challenges go as we grow our business. I got my leaders there and I go, well, I got some ideas. I need to hear from you guys so that we refine it. We got some very smart people that work here. We work through that challenge. We get the ideas. We settle on what it is and we go, all right, go put it in as a task, get it done. So those challenges are creating our tasks, which are then getting our smart actions done, which are getting our tops done, which is getting our mission done, which is getting our vision done, which is getting to our dream. They all break down to these little tasks that come from the challenges that your business faces. And then last but not least, we rate the meeting. We had a meeting. Was it any good or not? You should never have a meeting unless it's effective. And so we rate it on these 5 criteria: prepared, engaged, focused, and efficient. Did it solve a real challenge? And do we have clarity on next steps? Each one of them having a total of 2 points. So if you did it perfectly, you get 2 points. Anything less than perfect, we're knocking off. Usually like half points is what we see a lot in the meetings that we have here and as we coach our clients. So each person is a judgment score. They go through, they look at it and go, okay, that's a 2, that's a 2, that's a 1, that's a 1.5, and that's a 2. Boom, score. And you can see everybody on our team like has their score. And our final score is a 7.5. Not good enough. Our meetings must meet an 8 or better, or we're doing them wrong. Why'd you score the meeting what you scored it? Anybody that's less than 8 must justify their score. Explain to everybody else why you gave it that score. Starts to identify like things that are happening in the meeting that are not beneficial, going down rabbit trails, not solving problems, not coming prepared, honesty with everybody else. It's a tough thing sometimes, but our meetings are extremely effective. For the first 6 months, we did not score an 8. I'm a hard grader, number one. Since then, we've had one meeting that was less than an 8. That's been for 4 years. It's pretty awesome that we come away from that meeting going, that got something done. We know what we're going to do next, and it's going to achieve that mission for us. So, allows us to assess it and improve our meetings each week. That's what building a mission looks like. It is a tactical plan that will allow you to achieve your vision, which will allow you to achieve that big, hairy, audacious goal you're after. And hopefully, if you do it well, it allows you to achieve the dream of why you started the thing in the whole beginning. So some of the takeaways, the epic results of this. It develops a long-term strategic plan if you put the strategic part of it first. It gives you a very focused lens. Everything that you're doing is focused on that mission. Like, okay, that's the goal of our operation. What's this thing you want? No, that doesn't have anything to do with it. We're not worried about that. We have more things get kicked out of our meeting than things that get put into our meeting because it's not what we're after at that point in time. Missions create a target, a believable roadmap, accountability, growth, not only of you as a leader, but of your leaders and of the team executing the mission, which then creates capacity. And capacity is the key, the ultimate key to you growing your business to where you want it to be. If you don't have the capacity, in other words, the time to work on your business that you need, you're going to get stuck. You're going to hit a ceiling. You can't get past it. If any of you feel like you're hitting those ceilings and I can't get past these things, come talk to us. Like we don't charge for that. We'll have a call with you. We can help you out. We can usually give you 2 or 3 things like do this, do this, do this, and you can break through that barrier. Whatever mission you create, make it epic. Like Operation Evergreen for us is epic. That means every metric that we're tracking has to turn green. And not just once, but evergreen. So that means it's all the time. That's pretty epic. We are able to achieve that. We've done some pretty amazing things. And then you have to keep it top of mind. This mission that you do, you're meeting weekly about it, that helps keep it top of mind, but it's up on the walls. Attention's being brought to it all the time. In company meetings, we're talking about it. We're recognizing people for helping achieve the mission, all of that stuff, all the time, every day, all day long. This is what we're about. Keeping it top of mind will keep people focused on it. That should be your takeaways from today. You can come back to this probably several times and kind of start to build your own out, that type of thing if you want to. If you want some help with it, we do that too. So we do free assessments of companies. You guys are on here. You want to get an assessment of your business, scan that QR code right there. Goes to our website, take the assessment. It takes about 15, 20 minutes. So there's no joke assessment. When you get done with it, we'll actually do a free coaching call with you. We can talk about this mission and how to build one, how to put one together. We don't charge for that, and it's not a sales pitch. It's truly a coaching call for you to see what coaching looks like and go, don't need it. Thank you very much for the advice. Great. Or, man, I really like that. I want more of it. That's good too. Either one is fine with us. This is me. And how to get a hold of me. Our website is ContractorCoachPRO.com. There is a new thing out there called Contractor Collective. You can actually go to your app stores, whether it's Google or Android. Think of it as a purpose-driven social media platform. The idea being we wanted to create a community of professionals. None of the pushing people down. We're all lifting each other up in there. So not your traditional social media where everybody's going to savage you for any question that you ask. We're there to lift each other up. You will see vendors there. You'll see our team there. You'll see a lot of other contractors there. Ask questions. You'll get professional answers. You'll get answers you can trust. Contractor Radio is our podcast. Follow that if you want to get more of this kind of stuff. Obviously, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm excited about what I'm going to do on TikTok. We got something cool coming out there. Guys, that is our webinar for the day. I hope you enjoyed it. Do we have any questions that we need to get answered, Mike?
Yeah, we had one question come up about loving the content and wanting to know if there's going to be a recording. So I did get that answered in the chat, but if you guys missed that, we'll be available within 48 hours. It's usually available much quicker than that, but within 48 hours, we'll get this to where it's available for all. Jim, awesome stuff as always. Loved every second of it. Had me thinking and wanted to take some pictures of things myself.
That tends to happen when I do these.
Yeah, just great stuff. So again, thank you, Jim, for coming. We really appreciate this. Those of you joining us, as always, we appreciate you joining us. This won't be the last time we create content with Jim in 2023. We've got big goals over here, as Jim alluded to. Jim's got big goals, and what's awesome about Contractor Coach Pro and Company Cam is ultimately both of our goals align, and we want to make contractors better in what they're doing daily. And so if we can create content to help with that, that's what we're going to do. So thank you all for joining us. Jim, again, thank you. And we will be back here with a slightly different style of content piece in February, but we'll be back in February with some best practices for you.
So we had content wasn't what I expected, because I think most people were expecting something else about mission. So hopefully it was helpful. They said it was, and I want to really kind of get that across. Like, this is how we achieve big things. It's like getting a mission put together, knowing what the waypoints are, breaking it down into the pieces that need to be done now to achieve that big thing. Because our goals are usually far bigger than our execution allows for, if it's not planned out at least a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all. And again, thank you, Jim. And we will see you guys next month.
See ya, everybody. Had a blast. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.